What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Erasure. Going back to their chorus album, 1991. I've enjoyed this immensely, and, as I've talked about in a number of the reactions, Han Solo, friend of the channel, had mentioned in advance that the album has a bit more of like a 90s electronic feel as compared to the sort of 80s like synth pop vibe of the first few albums. And even though I think there is very much continuity, I do also very much hear that element, that sort of added electronica kind of feel in a couple of the tunes. So yeah, absolutely enjoying going through this album. I mentioned it before. There's this crazy long like article that talks about the two guys and the evolution of the band and the days leading up to this album and the music leading up to this album, as well as some reflection back in time from the period in which this reissue came out, which I don't remember the exact year. I'll look it up after and write it in the comments, but I think it was like several years later, like into the 2000s at the very least. But yeah, we're up to a tune. I'm very amused by the name, Love to Hate You. Obviously the dichotomies and contrast of human emotional experience are stark but also connected. Some people have often talked about some of our worst impulses and sort of behaviors are linked to some of the best things that we do, that part of our emotional sort of spectrum is what makes human experience like so vivid and profound in some cases, but it can also lead to very horrible attitudes and actions because of that same like potential. So love and hate, they are extreme opposites, but in a way they're like their absolute value, and like to bring in a mathematical concept where -7 and 7 are the same absolute value because of the same distance from 0. I think there's something there in terms of love and hate, in terms of like feeling overwhelming emotional appreciation and affection for someone or something. Like, yes, it is the opposite in a way of feeling overwhelming vitriol or disapproval or indeed hatred toward someone or something, but they're both like the same level of emotional content, the same level of emotional depth, just applied very differently. So already I'm thinking about sort of the yin and the yang, the contrast of human life and human emotional life specifically. But I'm also thinking about, like love to hate you, it could relate to another person in terms of like, one of those people that you can't stand to be away from, but you can't stand it when you're with them because they do certain things that you wish they didn't, and they bother you and so on. But you're also sort of like weirdly addicted to them because they have charisma or certain characteristics that you do find attractive or compelling. So it could be sort of tension in relation to another person. But reading a bit in the article here and maybe in some other places about Andy Bell and like his approach to songwriting, and how at least in some cases he's written songs that relate to like him thinking about what it would be like to interact with Andy if he were another person, whether a lover or just someone in their like social life or family life or so on. So when I see this title, Love to Hate You, it does make me wonder if there's like introspection here, where that like he's aware that some of the things he's doing and saying aren't ideal, and that they probably don't come across great to people he genuinely does care about. So there could be this like tension that like I love myself and I want to be who I am and explore emotional and sort of physical experience and so on. But I also am aware that maybe it's not the greatest for other people, and it like makes me have like regret or disdain for myself in other contexts. So I do wonder if it could function like within a singular person. But yeah, and even then it could be worded in a way as if he's talking to another person, that like, oh, there's things about you that I find compelling, but man, why do you have to do that, and why do you have to be that way? And again, I don't know if I'll make too much of it in terms of how it might relate to the song, but part of this is he talks about, Andy says that, he had a longtime partner and he wasn't always the best to this partner, because sometimes, he'd go out and he'd be off for days at a time and, maybe burning it up with someone else, and then, he'd find his way back because he really does value the partner. And like, I think at least some of the songs he wrote are about, what he felt like he was putting his partner through during an earlier phase of, their lives. And so again, when I see this phrase "love to hate you," I wonder if it could be about what was going on in Andy's head relative to himself. I wonder if it could be about what he would imagine his partner or anyone who could be in a relationship but feel like the other person is perhaps straying or doesn't respect them, like, symmetrically or reciprocally. So yeah, it makes me wonder, like, if it could be about emotional things going on in Andy's life, but maybe written not from the, like, normal, like, true perspective of him as a narrator, but maybe casting the light back on him, or at least, like, casting the light inside his own mind. So we'll have to see. Let me know what you think, if there is a particular line or sort of angle on this one. But here we go. This is "Love to Hate You" by Erasure on their 1991 album Chorus. Oh, wait, what? I know this is from the first album. There's a third CD on this deluxe edition that's live versions, but this is from the normal album, so was this a live track they included on the proper album? It sounds live. I like the way it came in there. Melody's kind of like wavy, like tonally it's kind of rising and falling. For every Casanova. Yeah. There's like a horror movie kind of like electric organ sort of feel. That's nice. I love the way he drags into the verse. Is that also Andy on that high backing vocal? Just layers? Ooh, there's like kind of gritty feedback for a second. That really high, kind of leapy. That's acid. That's 100%. If not a 303 proper, a clone of some kind. Sort of like quasi-vocal pad synth. But without that bar, no. The composition of their song, Vince Clarke, you genius. How are you gonna fade that right there? They're jamming, the crowd's digging it, and you fade out? Whoever, produced this album, or not produced it, but whoever, decided that, well, let's just fade it there. We can't let that go to the end. I feel like that was a disappointing choice. If at the very least, I felt like you could have done a much longer fade there. Sometimes they do fade out endings where they kind of run 45 seconds so you're aware what's happening, but you still kind of get the flavor, like, for longer on the way out the door. Yeah, so it just felt like that one faded a bit suddenly. But the reason I felt that is because I was really enjoying it and feeling it in the moment. So yeah, I have to listen to the lyrics some more. I do think there's some elements, including a direct articulation of it, like, "Wow, I really love to hate you." But again, I'm not quite sure like the angle that's being cast at. But I do enjoy it sonically. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting elements. There was kind of like this high, kind of wavy, almost like sort of old school horror movie synth. But then there was that like sort of electric organ kind of feel. The bass lines, as always with Vince, they're popping. The way that would lead into the choruses with that rising kind of bass, like they would do it like 3 times, I think, and then kind of roll in for that big drop of the chorus. That was fantastic progression as well. So yeah, shout out to the structure and the sequencing of this one in particular. And yeah, let me know if you got an angle on the lyrics, a particular insight as to perhaps which angle that sort of what a combination, love and hate, as Andy said, the direction that that's being expressed. Do let me know whether that's internal, mirrored back toward Andy, or from Andy actually looking at someone else behaving in a way that makes him say that. So yeah, let me know what you think. Other than that, thank you for listening and watching. I will see you next time.